The first blush of dawn painted the Hudson Valley estate in hues of rose and gold. Sunlight dripped through the ancient oaks that lined the drive of Greystone Manor, a promise of a perfect day hanging heavy in the air. You could practically smell the unsolved mystery of the past. The manicured lawns, meticulously trimmed hedges, and the overflowing floral arrangements spoke of meticulous planning. A celebration orchestrated with exquisite care. It was a scene ripped from a glossy magazine, the epitome of elegance, a testament to a life well lived. But underneath the shimmering surface, a tremor ran. Alexis Moreau, a woman who commanded boardrooms with the same ease she selected vintage champagne, stood on the balcony of the manor. At 39, she was a titan in the New York City financial world. Her firm, Moreau Investments, a beacon of success amidst the volatile market. Today, however, the numbers and spreadsheets were far from her mind. Today was about love, commitment, and the start of a new chapter. She smoothed the silk of her robe, feeling the weight of anticipation settle in her stomach. Greystone Manor, a jewel inherited from her late parents, had been transformed into a wedding paradise. Every detail, from the bespoke floral arrangements to the string quartet practicing a gentle waltz, reflected Alexis's discerning taste and uncompromising vision. This journey of discovery, as she put it, will be something memorable for her. The air buzzed with the energy of caterers, florists, and wedding planners scurrying about, each a cog in the intricate machinery of the event. It was a masterful performance, a testament to meticulous organization. A thrilling story was about to unfold. Yet, even amidst the symphony of activity, Alexis felt a disquieting unease. A subtle flicker in the light, a shadow in the periphery, a whisper of doubt that refused to be silenced. This perfection felt brittle. A delicate glass ornament perched precariously close to the edge of the table. And somewhere, in the lamplight, she felt an impending doom, a secret in the making. The story could go wrong. Alexis turned from the balcony, the sun now fully risen, casting long shadows across the manicured lawns. She moved with a deliberate grace, a dancer accustomed to the rhythm of success. Every step calculated, every gesture polished. But beneath the facade of the confident businesswoman, a fragile hope bloomed, a yearning for something more than power and achievement. She longed for partnership, for genuine connection. A thrilling story, if it was to be written, had to include Alexis as well. She entered her dressing room, a sanctuary of soft lighting and luxurious fabrics. Her wedding gown, a masterpiece of silk and lace, hung suspended on a mannequin, a silent promise of the commitment she was about to make. She traced the delicate embroidery with her fingertips, a faint smile gracing her lips. "Everything okay, Ms. Moreau?" a voice called from the doorway. It was Clara, her longtime assistant, a woman with a sharp wit and an unwavering loyalty. "Just nerves, Clara," Alexis admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's a big step." She tried to put on a brave face. It was, without a doubt, unsolved mystery what the future had in store for her. Clara arched an eyebrow, a hint of skepticism in her gaze. "You conquer hostile takeovers before breakfast, Miss Moreau. I hardly think a wedding will be your undoing." Alexis chuckled, the sound tinged with a hint of melancholy. "Perhaps, but the stakes are different, aren't they? This isn't about money or power. This is about trust, a chilling statement." She paused, her gaze drifting to the photograph on her vanity, a picture of her late parents, their faces etched with love and pride. They had always encouraged her to chase her dreams, to be fearless and independent. But they had also instilled in her the importance of genuine connection, of finding someone to share her life with. Could David really be that man? Or was she ignoring the very journey of discovery that the people she loved wanted? The shadows seemed to deepen in the corners of the room. The silk, now colder against her skin, hinted at a darker tale yet to be revealed. A secret was about to come out. 7-year-old Lily Moreau, or Teet, as she preferred, wasn't impressed by the glittering spectacle surrounding her. While other children might have been captivated by the cascading flowers and the endless supply of miniature pastries, Lily felt a persistent unease, a nagging feeling that something was off. It felt like an unsolved mystery that was about to begin. It wasn't anything specific. It was more like a discordant note in a perfectly tuned symphony. A subtle flaw in an otherwise flawless painting. She just couldn't quite put her finger on it. It was about to be a long, thrilling story that she'd embark on without her mother. David, her soon-to-be stepfather, was always so nice. Too nice, perhaps. His smiles were always so wide, his voice so gentle, his eyes so attentive. It felt practiced, unlike her mom, Alexis, who was also nice but in an honest way. But Alexis was often busy, preoccupied with meetings and phone calls, her mind always racing. Alexis loved Lily more. Lily watched David as he chatted animatedly with a group of wedding guests, his laughter echoing across the lawn. He knelt down to talk to Mrs. Henderson, a family friend, his hand resting lightly on her arm. But Lily noticed something, a fleeting expression that flickered across his face when he thought no one was watching. A brief hardening of his eyes, a subtle clenching of his jaw. It vanished as quickly as it appeared, replaced by the familiar charming smile. "Lily, darling, are you enjoying the party?" David asked, turning his attention to her. He smoothed a stray strand of hair from her face, his touch lingering a fraction too long. "It's okay," Lily mumbled, shrugging him off. The journey of discovery wouldn't be with him. She didn't like his hands on her. "Are you happy, David?" David chuckled, a forced sound that sent a shiver down Lily's spine. "Of course, I'm happy, sweetheart. I'm about to marry your amazing mother." He winked, but Lily didn't see warmth in his eyes, only a calculation. Later, she found her mom, Alexis, watching the band. Grasping her mother's hand, Lily looked up. "Mommy, he's not nice." Her mother smiled warmly. "Oh, sweetie, don't be silly. He's wonderful. Why don't you like him? He's wonderful. Why don't you like him?" Lily didn't have an answer because she didn't know. What she did know, this wasn't the fairy tale that other children in the valley talked about. Alexis, the busy bee that she always was, dismissed Lily's claims. It was a hard pill to swallow, and Lily began to feel alone. "Oh, sweetie, don't fret. This is going to be a great day." Lily was convinced otherwise. The world was about to crumble. She just knew it. She didn't know when. She didn't know how. But she had to do something. The stage was now set. The wedding reception flowed with an effortless grace, fueled by vintage champagne and the infectious energy of the string quartet. David, ever the gracious host, moved through the crowd like a seasoned politician, effortlessly charming each guest with a personalized anecdote or a carefully placed compliment. It looked to be a thrilling story for many, but not Lily. He laughed easily with Alexis' old college friends, reminisced fondly with her business associates, and even managed to coax a smile from the notoriously stoic Aunt Beatrice. He was a master of connection, a chameleon who seamlessly adapted to each social situation. Alexis watched him from across the room, a sense of pride swelling in her chest. This journey of discovery made her that much more excited for him. Lily, however, saw a different side of him. She trailed behind David, a silent observer, her senses heightened by her growing distrust. She saw the forced brightness in his eyes, the subtle tension in his jaw, the way his smile seemed to falter when he thought no one was watching. It all amounted to the unsolved mystery of David's life. Later, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, David excused himself from the festivities. "Just need to take a quick call, darling," he whispered to Alexis, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "Won't be long." He walked towards the far end of the terrace, his voice barely audible above the music and chatter. Lily, her curiosity piqued, followed him discreetly, hiding behind a towering hydrangea bush. "I said, I need those figures finalized by tomorrow." David's voice snapped, all the charm gone. "Get it done, or you'll be dealing with consequences you won't like." Lily's heart pounded in her chest. This wasn't the David she saw, but it was a David. She didn't understand the words, but the tone sent a chill down her spine. This was not the man the Valley children all said would be coming. He hung up abruptly, his face hardening with a cold fury that sent a shiver down Lily's spine. As quickly as it had appeared, the mask of charm slipped back into place. He smoothed his hair, took a deep breath, and rejoined the party, his smile once again radiating warmth and sincerity. Lily watched him return to Alexis, his arm casually draped around her shoulders, his laughter mingling with the music. The image felt wrong, jarring, a dissonance that amplified the unsettling feeling deep within her. She knew with a certainty that belied her young age that something terrible was about to happen. It was like one of Alexis's business ventures, except this time, the whole world was about to change. Something that had been built from the ground up was about to topple. She turned and fled, seeking solace in the familiar comfort of her mother's embrace, a silent plea for protection against the darkness she sensed closing in. It was more than what the adults could see. The photographer, a flamboyant character named Jean-Pierre, bustled around the makeshift studio near the rose garden, barking instructions in heavily accented English. "Magnifique, more light, more smiles. This is history, mes amis." The thrilling story behind the family unit was about to be seen for its exterior. Alexis, radiant in her ivory gown, stood beside David, his arm possessively circling her waist. They were the picture of marital bliss. Their eyes told the story of a journey of discovery, just one big happy family to them. But the lens, Lily suspected, saw more than met the eye. In the lens, it was the unsolved mystery. Lily was a little too sure, and that made her more anxious than she already was. Lily shuffled her feet, avoiding eye contact with David. She was at the front, barely smiling. The photographer's already caught on with her, but he did not dare utter a single word. Jean-Pierre paused. "Mademoiselle, come closer. You are hiding in the shadows." The photographer was already beginning to get to know everyone. Alexis gently tugged Lily closer, her smile radiating warmth. "Come on, sweetie. It's just a picture. We want to remember this day." Lily reluctantly stepped forward, her body stiff and resistant. She positioned herself as far away from David as possible, her hand barely brushing against Alexis's arm. In the center of the group, there was a strange distance. "Parfait! Now, everyone, sourires, big smiles," Jean-Pierre commanded, snapping the shutter. Flash bulbs popped, momentarily blinding Lily. As she blinked away the afterimage, she saw David's smile falter for just a fraction of a second, his eyes hardening as he glanced at her. It was a fleeting expression, gone before anyone else could notice. But Lily saw it. The confirmation she needed was right there. The family photo that would be on every wall was nothing but a lie. His gaze bore into her. She didn't feel safe and comfortable with him, but he was trying to get her to be as if everything was okay. Across the lawn, Michael watched the photo session unfold, his brow furrowed with concern. He had noticed Lily's reluctance, her strained smile, the subtle tension in her body language. He had also seen the fleeting darkness in David's eyes, the possessive way he held Alexis. It was a lot of what he would expect. He excused himself from a conversation with Alexis' aunt. The family wanted to be in his good graces as they discussed his past. "Jean-Pierre, if you please," he said, cutting the session short. "I must be the one next to the family." Alexis turned, surprised. "Michael, darling, is there anything I can do for you?" Michael smiled, a genuine warmth in his eyes. "Just wanted to steal you away for a moment. I need to get my dance shoes on." He guided Alexis away, leaving David and Lily alone by the rose bushes. It was the first time they were alone. For all the world, the tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. This might be what they needed. "Merci, Jean-Pierre," Michael said, winking at the photographer. It was a journey of discovery, and one of them had to take a step forward. With that, he took Alexis's hand and walked away. It was going to be difficult, but it was better than nothing. Michael was at least beginning to feel something was wrong. The sun began its descent, casting long shadows across Greystone Manor and bathing the scene in a golden, almost ethereal glow. Inside, the wedding festivities continued, but the air was now charged with anticipation. The guests had their food and the dance was about to begin. It was a thrilling story on its way to unfolding itself. During a lull in the music, David stepped onto the small stage that had been set up near the dance floor, a velvet-covered box in his hands. He smiled warmly at Alexis, his eyes shining with what appeared to be genuine affection. It was going to be a journey of discovery between him and Alexis. "My darling Alexis," he began, his voice amplified by the microphone. "I wanted to give you something special, something that symbolizes the deep connection we share." He paused dramatically, his gaze sweeping across the crowd. David was a master of the set. He opened the box, revealing a delicate diamond and sapphire pendant, its facets catching the light and scattering rainbows across the room. It was a replica, but that didn't matter. Her family was about to have her most treasured gem. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Alexis's eyes widened in disbelief. She clutched at her chest, her breath catching in her throat. "My grandmother's pendant," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "I thought it was lost forever." It looked as though a true unsolved mystery was about to be solved. David beamed, his smile radiating warmth and satisfaction. "I know how much it meant to you. I spent months searching for it, and finally, with the help of a private collector, I was able to retrieve it." He stepped down from the stage and presented the pendant to Alexis, gently clasping it around her neck. The diamond was about to be her own. The clasp was ice cold, sending a jolt down her spine. "Now it's home where it belongs," he whispered in her ear. Alexis's eyes welled with tears. "Oh, David, thank you. It's beautiful." She clutched the pendant, feeling its weight against her skin, her emotions swirling between joy and disbelief. Lily, however, stood frozen near the edge of the dance floor, her face pale and drawn. She recognized the pendant, but not as a family heirloom. She knew the truth from when Alexis always called out the pendant. It came from Mr. Chen's shop downtown. She had seen it just last week when she and Clara were running errands. It was a cheap replica, nothing more. As David twirled Alexis onto the dance floor, Lily's mind raced. She had to do something. The lights dimmed and the music swelled, and David dipped Alexis. When David and Alexis pulled back up, Lily stared them dead in the eye. Her journey of discovery had begun, and she wanted to reveal it. The dance floor swirled with color and movement, the music a gentle pulse beneath the surface of conversations and laughter. Alexis, still radiant from David's gift, found herself pulled aside by Michael near the grand staircase. The unsolved mystery she had been ignoring was about to be solved. Michael's face was serious, his usual lightheartedness replaced by a deep furrow in his brow. "Alexis, I need to talk to you," he said, his voice low and urgent. He had embarked on a journey of discovery she wasn't going to enjoy. Alexis's smile faltered. "Michael, what is it? You look like you've seen a ghost." She brushed off his claims. "It's about David," he said, his gaze unwavering. "I've done some digging. Some things don't add up." Alexis stiffened, her defenses immediately rising. "Michael, I don't want to hear it. This is my wedding day. I know, but this is important. Please, just listen," he pleaded. "There are whispers about his business dealings, irregularities, lawsuits. Nothing concrete, but enough smoke to suggest a fire." This part of the thrilling story wasn't going to impress the rest of the valley. Alexis' eyes narrowed. "David told me all about his past. There are reasons for those issues." Michael sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Alexis, I'm not saying he's a monster. I'm just saying, be careful. Don't rush into anything. Protect yourself." He paused, his gaze softening with concern. "I've known you for a long time, Alexis. I care about you. I don't want to see you get hurt." This has been said by her parents for all her life. Her expression softened with a hint of affection. "I know, Michael. I appreciate your concern, but I trust David. He's a good man." It was the only thing she could say. "I hope you're right," Michael said, his voice tinged with doubt. "But please, just keep your eyes open. For your own sake." He squeezed her hand, his gaze lingering on hers for a moment before turning and walking away, leaving Alexis standing alone by the staircase. This was one of the most important events in her life. His words hung heavy in the air, a discordant note amidst the joyful melody of the wedding. The pendant, now suddenly a little colder against her skin, seemed to weigh a ton. Had she just made a mistake, or was her business partner onto something, and was just trying to ruin her life? As she watched David across the dance floor, his smile radiating warmth and sincerity, a seed of doubt began to sprout in the back of her mind. Small things began to build, which was all Michael wanted. He wanted his best friend to know. Her world was about to be a living hell. The worst was yet to come. The sun had long since set, and the wedding festivities continued to rage on, a carefully orchestrated symphony of joy and celebration. But in the quiet solitude of her private study, Alexis felt the music fade away, replaced by a rising tide of unease. She was on her own journey of discovery. Michael's words echoed in her mind, a persistent whisper of doubt that refused to be silenced. Be careful. Protect yourself. She was about to find out the answer to the unsolved mystery. Her first step was to check if Michael had substance. Driven by a sudden, inexplicable urge, she had excused herself from the party, claiming a headache, and retreated to the sanctuary of her study. It was a room filled with memories, a testament to her life and accomplishments. But tonight, it felt different. A chill lingered in the air. Something about the building felt wrong. She was hoping her parents would be here for her. She was about to find out. She wanted to find an old photograph, a picture of her grandmother wearing the now-returned pendant. It would ease her mind, a tangible proof that the heirloom was genuine and that David's intentions were pure. It was only a picture, but Alexis believed in tangible assets and a piece of history. It was what had made her famous in the business world. She ran her hand over the smooth, leather-bound spines of her photo albums, her fingers tracing the familiar titles: family vacations, childhood memories, college days. She pulled down the album labeled heirlooms and carried it to her desk, its weight heavy in her hands. The book was nearly as old as she was, and now it felt like a thrilling story was about to unfold from it. She flipped through the pages, her eyes scanning the faded photographs. Smiling faces, cherished moments, glimpses of a life well lived. But as she reached the section dedicated to family jewels, a frown creased her forehead. The photograph of her grandmother wearing the pendant was gone. A knot tightened in her stomach. It was odd, but she might have moved it somewhere. She opened her desk drawers, rummaging through old letters, business documents, and personal mementos. Nothing. The photo album with the pendant was nowhere to be found. Her heart began to race. It was a simple photograph, a small thing really, but its absence felt significant, a violation of her private space. All of Michael's work led her to a single point. A chilling suspicion began to creep into her mind. Had someone taken it? And if so, why? She trusted every member of the staff here at Greystone Manor. Who would possibly do this? She glanced around the room, her eyes darting to every shadow, every corner. The familiar comfort of her study had transformed into a prison, filled with unseen threats and unspoken secrets. It felt as though there was someone here with her. The music from the wedding reception seemed to mock her, its joyful melody a stark contrast to the growing unease that gnawed at her soul. She rose from her desk, her hands trembling, a chilling realization dawning in her mind. Her whole life might have been a lie. The missing photograph was not just a missing document. It was a missing piece of her trust, a missing piece of her life. Her mind spun with unanswered questions. She was about to face the darkness alone. The stolen photograph weighed on Alexis like a physical burden. Back in the heart of the celebration, she feigned cheerfulness, forcing smiles and engaging in polite conversation. But her mind was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. She continued her journey of discovery. It was the most she could possibly do, but she had to keep it up. David, oblivious to her inner turmoil, held her close, his touch radiating warmth and affection. He was a master, after all. "Having fun, darling," he whispered, his breath warm against her ear. His lies made her uncomfortable, and the reality of the event was about to change. Was she simply being paranoid? Was Michael wrong? Was Lily just a child? Was she destroying her own happiness over nothing? The idea was preposterous. She remembered the early days of their relationship, the whirlwind romance, the shared dreams, the feeling of finally finding someone who truly understood her. David was everything. He was perfect. Alexis was too close, however, so maybe she couldn't see it. Lily had that perspective. He had swept her off her feet with his charm, his intelligence, his unwavering support. He had listened to her dreams, encouraged her ambitions, and made her feel loved and cherished. He had been her rock, her confidant, her partner. Did it really mean nothing? How could someone so seemingly genuine, so loving, be capable of deception? How could she have been so blind? It was an unsolved mystery. But then the doubts crept in, amplified by the missing photograph and Lily's persistent unease. The business call and that fake smile, the fleeting darkness in his eyes. This was truly a thrilling story. She thought back to their conversations, searching for any hint of dishonesty, any telltale sign of manipulation. She found nothing. And that troubled her more than anything. She glanced around the room, her gaze lingering on the faces of her friends and family, their smiles radiating joy and support. Did they see something she didn't? Were they all blinded by David's charm? What had he done? The weight of the pendant against her skin felt heavier now, a cold reminder of her grandmother, her family, and everything she held dear. Was she about to lose everything? She had to know the truth. She couldn't stand the thought of living a lie. The music swelled around her, a bittersweet melody that underscored the complexity of her emotions. Her dream was about to fall apart. There was no question. Lost in her thoughts, Alexis suddenly remembered a meeting with David. His document seemed odd to her and not in place. It had been a small thing, so she pushed past it. But now, something was about to change. It was only a matter of time. The answer would be revealed. Sleep evaded Lily. The glittering lights and cascading flowers of the wedding were all a lie. While the adults were celebrating, she was preparing. When was David the most vulnerable? When he was alone? What was the most valuable thing he could say? What he wasn't prepared to share? Tiptoeing out of her room, Lily padded down the hallway, the soft carpet muffling her footsteps. The hallways of Greystone Manor were silent. As she walked towards David, the unsolved mystery was being unveiled. She was embarking on her own journey of discovery. Lily's mission was to unravel the thrilling story and show the world the way it was. It wasn't right. Tonight, David had excused himself earlier, a furrow in his brow and a strange look on his face. It was something that made her feel more than uneasy. She walked past the music room. Quiet, nothing but the sound of wind. Past the study. The same result. She moved towards the balcony that was overlooking the swimming pool. The place was quiet, so that meant it was safe. Lily had the most heightened senses. Alexis knew this. She edged closer, her heart pounding in her chest. She was about to hear and see the truth. David's voice, usually so smooth and charming, was tight with impatience. She couldn't see his face, only his silhouette against the shimmering water of the pool. His every action was being plotted. I said, "Is it done?" "I don't have time for excuses," he snapped, his words barely audible above the gentle breeze. "The ink better be dry by tomorrow. Do you understand me?" Lily's breath hitched in her throat. He didn't seem as if he were trying to court and get her mom's hand. He was about to betray her in more ways than she could imagine. There was a pause, followed by a string of mumbled words. Lily strained her ears, trying to decipher the conversation. The people in the valley that he had used to be friends with. She could only catch fragments. After the wedding, the signature, everything changes. But she heard it all. It was a matter of time. The details were vague, unsettling, but one phrase stood out with chilling clarity. "The sale goes through." Sale? What sale? Her mother's business, the house, the valley. She had no idea. A wave of nausea washed over her. This wasn't about love. This was about greed and manipulation. The only thing that was on display here was the wedding. This wasn't the man the valley children spoke about. She just knew it. David ended the call abruptly. As he turned to head back inside, Lily darted back down the hallway, her mind racing. She needed to tell her mom, and fast. This wasn't her time, but all there was the weight on her shoulders. The night was far from over, and the truth was about to come out. The ballroom, usually echoing with laughter and music, was hushed and expectant. Alexis and David stood in the center, bathed in the soft glow of the chandelier, ready to rehearse their first dance. It was supposed to be a moment of intimate connection, a symbol of their love and commitment. What wasn't to love about a good thrilling story? But for Alexis, the joy felt strained, tainted by the doubts that now clung to her like a shroud. She was about to embark on a journey of discovery unlike the others. The string quartet began to play a gentle waltz, the melody swirling around them like a familiar embrace. David took her hand, his touch warm and reassuring. "Ready, darling?" he murmured, his smile radiating warmth. "As I'll ever be," she replied, forcing a smile. She tried to focus on the rhythm of the music, on the familiar steps of the dance, but her mind kept drifting back to the phone call, to the missing photograph. It was an unsolved mystery from the very beginning. They glided across the floor, their movements practiced and graceful, a reflection of their seemingly perfect harmony. David took the lead, guiding her through the turns and dips, his eyes never leaving hers. But the music, once so comforting, now felt hollow, a superficial cover for the discord that simmered beneath the surface. The harmonies were off, and Alexis could feel it. Across the room, Michael watched them, his expression a mixture of concern, something else. A flicker of sadness, perhaps, or a hint of longing. He stood near the edge of the dance floor with an old close friend. He took her hand, a practiced dance that had occurred between the two for many years. The waltz was slow. It felt as if the two were about to kiss. And suddenly, it happened. Her lips found Michael's. Michael pulled away quickly, his gaze flitting around the room to make sure no one had noticed. "I thought you were in need. Alexis is always looking for me." Alexis looked over to the couple in shock. Everything was about to change. This was never supposed to happen. As Alexis' jaw tightened, David's face had been caught looking at Michael as well. Did he know? Did it matter? Later, outside in the garden, Alexis found Michael. The sun was beating hard in the valley, and she had been thinking of something or someone. She wanted to know why. "Michael, I saw you. What was that?" "Alexis, it's not what you think. She was always this handsy." "I didn't mean for it to go that far, but I couldn't say no without starting some drama. I'm at a loss for words." "Why are you friends with her again? She does good work. I'm serious. Don't get distracted from David. I thought you were my friend and I thought I knew everything about you. No one knows anyone fully." "Oh." With that, Alexis stormed off, a feeling of shock and realization settling in. A storm had broken. The rain was on its way. What was about to happen? Everything. Sleep offered no refuge. The wedding day, once a shimmering dream, had transformed into a twisted nightmare. The wedding might be the end, but Alexis's journey of discovery had only just begun. Night after night, Alexis tossed and turned, haunted by fragmented images and disembodied voices. The nights were long. Everything was a lie, and the dreams were now becoming a reality. What could she possibly do? What? It was time. She found herself standing at the altar, radiant in her wedding gown, surrounded by smiling faces. But as she gazed at David, his features began to distort, his eyes hardening into cold, predatory slits. He wasn't the lover, the best friend, the partner, or the man she had known. He was evil. She tried to run, but her feet were rooted to the spot, her body paralyzed with fear. The smiles of the wedding guests morphed into grotesque grins, their voices rising in a cacophony of mocking laughter. No one was about to help her. The church was a bad omen. They were all here to drag her down. Suddenly, the floor beneath her cracked open, revealing a bottomless abyss. She plunged into the darkness, her scream swallowed by the silence. It was the final part of the thrilling story. She was falling, her body tumbling through the air, surrounded by swirling fragments of her life. Photographs of her parents, business documents, Lily's smiling face. Everything slipped through her fingers, lost in the darkness. Everything was falling apart. She was alone. She landed with a sickening thud, her body broken and bruised. She looked up, her eyes adjusting to the gloom, and saw David standing before her, a triumphant smirk on his face. "Welcome to your new life, my darling," he whispered, his voice dripping with malice. "A life of my control." The darkness closed in, suffocating her, crushing her. She bolted awake, gasping for air, her body drenched in sweat. The moonlight streamed through her window, illuminating the familiar surroundings of her bedroom. It was just a dream. But the lingering fear, the chilling image of David's face, felt all too real. The dream felt as though it were about to crash over her world. It just needed to be said. She sat up in bed, her heart pounding in her chest, and reached for Lily. Everything was about to break. She couldn't stop it. Looking into her mother's face, Lily took Alexis's hands and said a prayer. The room became warmer, a soft embrace against the cool breeze. A second nightmare was approaching, and everything was starting again. Now, the unsolved mystery had just begun. It was as if the walls were closing in, pressing down on her, stealing her breath. She wrapped her arms around her, clutching her tightly, seeking solace and protection from the darkness that threatened to consume her. This wedding was a nightmare, and there was no way that she could escape. The end was here, and she had no one to turn to but herself. The organ music swelled, filling Greystone Manor with a soaring melody that had always evoked feelings of hope and promise. But today, as Alexis stood at the threshold of the ballroom, it felt like a dirge, a mournful lament for a dream that was about to die. The start of the journey as she embarked on solving this unsolved mystery. Her wedding was no longer her own. The thrilling story she had always wanted, the beautiful dress, the perfect decorations, the smiling faces, it all felt like a grotesque charade, a carefully constructed illusion designed to mask a dark and sinister truth. It was a betrayal, plain and simple. Lily squeezed her hand, her small face etched with a mixture of fear and determination. She had told her the truth, finally confessing what she had heard. "Are you sure about this, Mom?" she whispered, her voice barely audible above the music. Alexis took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing heart. "I have to be, Lily. I can't go through with this not knowing." She stepped forward, her heels clicking against the polished floor, each step a deliberate act of defiance. All that the children in the valley were set to lose is now clear to her. Now is time to get started. The organ music seemed to grow louder, more insistent, as she moved down the aisle, her gaze fixed on David at the altar. He stood tall and handsome in his tuxedo, his smile radiating warmth and sincerity. He looked every inch the loving, devoted groom, the man she had believed him to be. But now, she saw something else in his eyes, a glint of calculation, a flicker of coldness that sent a shiver down her spine. The glint in his eyes was telling, but she tried to brush it off. As she drew closer, she could feel the weight of the guests' gazes, their faces a mixture of curiosity and anticipation. They were all here to witness her happiness, to celebrate her love. If only they knew. The air crackled with unspoken tension, the joyful atmosphere now tainted by a sense of unease. She could feel Michael's gaze on her, a silent message of support and encouragement. He knew that the journey was about to change. The music reached a crescendo, the notes echoing in her ears like a warning. She reached the altar, her hand trembling as she took David's. Their fingers intertwined, a symbolic gesture that felt strangely hollow, as if it would be as easy as just letting go. "You look beautiful," he whispered, his voice warm and intimate. "Thank you," she replied, her voice barely audible. She gazed into his eyes, searching for a flicker of honesty, a hint of remorse. But she saw nothing, only a carefully constructed facade, a mask that concealed a dark and manipulative soul. All they could see was each other. The moment of truth had arrived. What was about to be spoken would be all that she needed. She had to listen. The only thing she had left to do was speak the words. And for that, she would need to see it through. The priest cleared his throat, his voice booming through the suddenly silent ballroom. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today, The words seemed to echo, mocking Alexis's broken dreams. This was more than she could ask for. She took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing heart, her gaze fixed on David. The time had come. She had reached the end of the journey of discovery. There was nothing she could say and nothing that could be done. It was a done deal. But then, a small voice pierced the silence, cutting through the carefully constructed facade of happiness. "Stop! It was Lily! What was she doing?" All eyes turned to the back of the ballroom, where Lily stood, her small frame trembling, but her voice clear and resolute. She knew the end of this thrilling story was about to be. This was more than the children from the valley. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd, the joyful atmosphere instantly replaced by stunned silence. What was about to come next was going to be the final straw for what was about to happen. People were ready to fight each other for their opinions. David's face tightened, his eyes hardening with a flicker of something dark and dangerous. He was trying to contain himself. The unsolved mystery was the key. Alexis's heart lurched in her chest. What was Lily doing? This wasn't part of the plan. "Lily, what are you doing?" Alexis asked, her voice barely above a whisper. All of the plans that they had all been thinking about were here. "He's lying, Mommy. Don't marry him," Lily cried, her voice cracking with emotion. "He's not who he says he is." He was about to ruin everything that she had been planning. She knew it. Chaos erupted. Gasps and whispers filled the room, the carefully orchestrated symphony of joy dissolving into a discordant mess of speculation and alarm. All the families at the event was panicking. David stepped forward, his voice smooth and calming. "Sweetheart, what's wrong? Are you feeling okay?" The mask was still there, but it was beginning to slip, revealing the darkness beneath. "This was going to tear the valley apart. He only wants your money. He's just going to hurt you," Lily continued, tears streaming down her face. Everything would be lost. The damage was here and now. "Lily, that's not true," Alexis said softly, trying to soothe her daughter. "David loves us." But Lily shook her head, her small body trembling with conviction. This part of the thrilling story was finally coming to a close. "I heard him on the phone. He said he was going to sell everything after the wedding. He doesn't care about us." Every lie, every secret, every carefully constructed deception laid bare. A wave of shock washed over Alexis, her mind reeling. It was the lie. It was true after all. What was she going to do? What were they all supposed to do? It was over, in every sense of the word. She gazed at David, searching for an explanation, a denial, but his face was a mask of barely concealed fury, his eyes radiating a coldness she had never seen before. This, if she could trust her gut, wasn't going to be okay. The music stopped abruptly, the silence amplifying the tension in the room. All eyes were on Alexis, waiting for her to make a decision. She'd been too greedy. That was what Lily was telling her. It was the most difficult decision she had had to make, but it was for Lily. Her own journey was the truth. The choice had been made. It was just to tell everyone and live with the consequences. The silence in the ballroom was deafening, broken only by Lily's ragged sobs and the frantic whispers of the guests. Every eye was trained on Alexis, awaiting her reaction, her judgment. All was lost, and now was the time to strike hard. The unsolved mystery was about to make its final turn. David stepped forward, his face a mask of wounded innocence. "Alexis, darling, what is she talking about? You don't believe this, do you?" The performance had just begun. He reached for her hand, but Alexis instinctively recoiled, her mind reeling. The look in Lily's eyes was too real to ignore, far too terrifying. A part of her wanted to go back and undo everything. "David, is this true?" she asked, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and disbelief. It was the start of a journey of discovery. "Of course not," he exclaimed, his tone laced with indignation. "This is just a childish tantrum. Lily's been having a hard time adjusting. You know how sensitive she is." The thrilling story that was supposed to occur was going to take another turn. He turned to the crowd, his smile strained but still radiating charm. "Please, everyone, there's nothing to worry about. This is just a little misunderstanding. We can sort this out later." Every lie, every secret had meant nothing, but Alexis couldn't ignore what Lily had said, what she had been trying to tell her for so long. And what was even more so true was what had transpired that night before. There was nothing that she could possibly do. Her life was a lie, and so she would have to play that part. "Mommy, please," Lily cried, her voice laced with despair. "Don't let him fool you. He's lying." Alexis looked from Lily to David, her emotions torn between love, loyalty, and a growing sense of dread. The pendant, the phone call, Michael's warnings, it all pointed to one thing. What was that? And why did it continue to be something new with every single turn? "He is a good man, sweetie. I know it," Alexis said, trying to calm Lily. David's eyes flared for just a fraction of a second, his charm momentarily slipping to reveal a flash of anger. "See? She knows me." Then the dam burst. "This isn't about what you think, Lulu." "Stop it this instant. Don't yell at her," Alexis found herself saying. "She is not just a kid, all right. Alexis, please. You're making a scene," he hissed, pulling her closer, his grip tightening on her arm. "You need to control her, or something worse is going to happen." "And I can't have that right now, darling." Lily winced and gasped as she saw the events in front of her eyes. Was Alexis really serious about what was going to happen? All seemed lost. That action was enough. Alexis pulled away from David, her eyes hardening. She thought she knew him, his kindness and his joy. But it was all a lie. "Don't you ever speak to her like that again," she said, her voice low and dangerous. All the children at the valley were in their hearts at this time. The transformation was immediate. The radiant bride had vanished, replaced by a woman consumed by fury and a fierce protectiveness towards her daughter. The calm is always before the storm, and this was exactly that. David's face contorted with rage, the mask finally shattered beyond repair. "You ungrateful bitch! After everything I've done for you!" "That was a lie. You will never be honest with me. You had this coming all along. Don't speak about me to anyone again. I don't want to have anything to do with you. You knew it and you were just going to lie for a while. That is something evil for sure." And with that, the battle had begun. The ballroom was a scene of utter devastation. The joyful decorations now seemed grotesque, the discarded champagne flutes reflecting distorted images of the horrified guests. Alexis stood amidst the wreckage of her wedding, her world shattered into a million pieces. This was now one of the best thrilling stories to have happened in the valley. The weight of David's betrayal crashed down on her, suffocating her, crushing her. Everything was crumbling. The pendant, now hanging askew on her chest, felt like a brand, a symbol of her gullibility and her shame. No amount of business transactions could have ever been the end. She turned to the faces of her friends and family, their expressions a mixture of shock, pity, and morbid curiosity. Their eyes felt like daggers, piercing her soul, reminding her of her public humiliation. This was what a journey of discovery had created for her. The whispers started, a low hum of speculation and gossip that swirled around her like a venomous fog. This was going to lead the unsolved mystery. She could feel their judgment, their pity, their schadenfreude. A very small few looked as if they almost knew this had transpired. She wanted to disappear, to vanish into the shadows, to escape the crushing weight of their stares. To vanish, however, was too easy. But then, a small hand slipped into hers, a familiar warmth cutting through the icy chill that gripped her heart. She looked down and saw Lily, her eyes wide with fear, but her face radiating a fierce love and protectiveness. Now it was all clear. "It's okay, Mommy," Lily whispered, her voice trembling but firm. "It's not your fault." And it was here that the weight had fallen over her. Tears welled in Alexis's eyes, blurring her vision. She bent down and wrapped her arms around Lily, burying her face in her hair, her body racked with sobs. The warmth of her daughter's embrace was the only thing anchoring her to reality. The tears flowed freely now, a release of pent-up anger, fear, and grief. She sobbed for her broken dreams, for her shattered trust, for the life she thought she had. All that was to come was what would be for nothing. The weight was so heavy. What could she do? The storm had passed. Now was the moment to say and listen. "Mommy, I know you're strong," Lily said. "I saw it. You will be able to get through." The world turned too fast. "I'm so sorry, Lily," Alexis choked out, her voice thick with emotion. "I should have listened to you. I should have known." But she hadn't. All she had known was that the world had come crashing down and nothing was ever what it had seemed. "It's okay, Mommy. It's over now. We're together. We can fix it." Her world was different. It was now real. Alexis pulled back and gazed into Lily's eyes, her heart swelling with a mixture of love and gratitude. Lily's words were the best thing that had happened. In that moment, amidst the devastation and the humiliation, she saw a glimmer of hope, a spark of resilience that refused to be extinguished. She had lost everything, but she still had Lily. And that was enough. They had been friends forever. But Lily knew that today, as always, they would be the end. The police officers moved with swift efficiency, their presence a stark contrast to the opulent surroundings. They cuffed David, his protests a pathetic whimper against the backdrop of shattered dreams. He was ready to lose his freedom for Alexis's joy and her freedom to do whatever she wanted. Now, it was time. As they led towards the exit, David locked eyes with Alexis, a chillingly calm expression on his face. He had confessed, and it would be up to her to either forgive or forget. "Alexis, wait," he said, his voice devoid of any remorse. The unsolved mystery was that he had never been in love, but that was a choice, and her business partner had tried to convince her of that. It just wasn't real to her. She hesitated, her heart pounding in her chest. She wanted to turn away, to never look at him again. She found it in herself to continue on with all of it. But curiosity, a morbid fascination, compelled her to stay. She and her journey of discovery. The officers stopped, their eyes wary, giving David a brief moment. He used to do it for the joy, but now it was time to just let it go. "I need to tell you something," he said, his voice low and intimate, as if they were alone. She was never really alone, not even during her darkest times. His smile was now wide and big, a reminder that everything he had ever been was a total lie. He had never been a good influence, and now he was going to have to get to know her better to do so. "I never loved you, Alexis," he confessed, his words slicing through the air like a shard of glass. "Not really. I liked you, sure. You had money. You were useful. As a means to an end. You were never going to win my heart, but that was never really the goal." He paused, his eyes gleaming with a chilling amusement. "But I admired you, Alexis. You're a smart woman, and so that's what I wanted." He paused. "But it was never about the money. It was about the power, the control. To see if you could use my skill to turn a strong, independent woman like you into one on your knees. And I almost did it." Lily gasped, and then, with a swift and deadly move, Lily went for David. The damage could wait. The police separated David and Alexis and escorted him away. What was to come from Alexis had been what was going to be for David. He paused as the door closed. "It was never going to be a thriller of a story," he said to close out Alexis a world. "I just wanted you to see it as a thrilling story, and that's all there was to it." The silence of Greystone Manor was now a suffocating weight, a constant reminder of her shattered dreams and her devastating betrayal. In a world where the thrilling story had taken the best of her, now she was going to be the one to take the best back. After David's confession, everything felt surreal, as if she were living in a distorted version of reality. The faces that meant something were now fading away. The world may be big, but Alexis' mind was bigger. The wedding guests had long since departed, leaving behind a scene of utter desolation. The music has stopped. All was set to be okay. The only reason that mattered. She took her journey of discovery on. Alexis wandered through the empty ballroom, her footsteps echoing in the vast space, her gaze drifting over the discarded decorations, the overturned chairs, the scattered remnants of her ruined celebration. This was not her. This was a new chapter, a new book. Each object seemed to mock her, a tangible reminder of her foolishness, her naivete. If that was what was going to set her on fire, then so be it. So let the world crumble and fade away into dust. How could she have been so blind? How could she have trusted someone so completely, only to be betrayed in the most brutal way imaginable? She was lost in her mind. The voices were all that was on her mind, telling her what next. Her own words that she had spoken with David, her own actions, her own thoughts. Everything. The weight of her self-doubt was almost unbearable, crushing her beneath its immense force. Her business ventures had always worked, but this wedding was not one of them. It was only a matter of time. She retreated to her study, seeking solace in the familiar surroundings. But even here, the comfort was gone. Everything has transpired into what was always her life. It was only a matter of seeing the sun and the moon and making everything new again. She sat down at her desk, her fingers tracing the smooth surface, her gaze drifting over the framed photographs of her parents, their smiling faces now seeming like a distant memory. It was all about to pay off. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I let you down. Now or never." She was ready. She felt like a failure, a fool, a fraud. She was no longer fit to run any business, be a mother to her daughter, and now she would have to leave. The guilt was starting to get to her, and she was just holding out for a little longer. The unsolved mystery of it all. This was her last, a thrilling story in the end. She just knew it. And if there was anything that she had left to do, she did not want to do it. Months had passed since the disastrous wedding, since David's betrayal shattered Alexis's world. The wounds were still there, the scars a permanent reminder of her ordeal, but they were beginning to fade, replaced by a newfound sense of strength and resilience. It was all part of the thrilling story that was to become of everything. She had made a difficult but necessary decision: to sell Greystone Manor, severing ties with the opulence and deception of her past. The unsolved mystery had taken on a new meaning, and she and Lily were going to continue on with that. Now, they lived in a modest cottage nestled in a quiet corner of the Hudson Valley, far removed from the glittering lights and social pressures of her former life. No longer would the world come down to just how well and happy she could be. The cottage was small and simple, but it was filled with warmth and laughter, a testament to the strength of their bond. Sunlight streamed through the windows. This was her journey of discovery, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. Alexis had traded her power suits for comfortable jeans and sweaters, her board meetings for quiet evenings spent reading with Lily by the fireplace. There was something that she wanted. She had sold her share in the company. All that she loved was for nothing, and now the story was on its way to going right. Her mind was set on this path. Her business, however, would still live on as a lasting memory. Her days were now filled with simple pleasures: tending to her small garden, exploring the nearby hiking trails with Lily, baking cookies in the cozy kitchen. What was all that was on her mind? Lily seemed to thrive in their new environment, her laughter echoing through the cottage, her eyes sparkling with a newfound joy. She finally felt as though her life wasn't a total lie. Alexis enrolled her in a small, local school. All the girls were sweet and honest, a reminder that not all the children had gotten lost along the way. The cottage was warm and inviting, as if the house was meant for her all along. It was far from that of a place Alexis had dreamt of, but it was her new home. The financial burden was all but lifted from her shoulders, and it was up to her to make sure this was the life she wanted. Tonight, Alexis decided to tell Lily the truth, that they had just about nothing left to lose. If all was to fail, then that's exactly what it was going to do. Lily hugged Alexis and told her, "It's okay, Mom. We're just starting. We are together, and that's what's important." That may have been all that was going to set Alexis on her new course. Her peace and her power. The morning air was crisp and clean, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. The sun streamed through the windows of the cottage, bathing the rooms in a warm, golden light. Alexis, her face etched with a quiet serenity, packed a picnic basket, her movements efficient and purposeful. They had finished everything in the thrilling story that would become the hallmark of where they were. Today, she and Lily were going on a hike, A simple outing that represented so much more than just a walk in the woods. It was a celebration of their resilience, a testament to their unwavering bond, a symbol of their new beginning. Her journey of discovery had brought them from high to low, and from high to high once again. "Ready to go, Mom?" Lily called, her voice filled with anticipation. She stood by the door, her backpack slung over her shoulder, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Now was the time. She added a final touch to the basket, a jar of homemade cookies, Lily's favorite. It was never meant to be. As they stepped outside, the beauty of the Hudson Valley unfolded before them, a tapestry of rolling hills, verdant forests, and shimmering streams. This was what life would bring. She was going to make it. They took the picture of the three of them by Jean-Pierre's hands, the smiling faces giving off the idea that there were no more unsolved mystery to be found. As they started down the path, a familiar car pulled into the driveway. Alexis' heart skipped a beat. It was Michael. He stepped out of the car, his face beaming, a cardboard box in his arms. He grinned as he walked towards them, his eyes filled with warmth and sincerity. "What was going to happen, morning, ladies?" he called, his voice echoing across the yard. He stopped before them, his gaze locking with Alexis. "I have a little announcement to make. The world was about to change again. I bought that old property just down the road," Michael announced. "I'm moving to the Hudson Valley. I had to." Lily squealed with delight. "You're going to live near us?" Michael nodded, his smile widening. "That's the plan. I thought you two might need a little help settling in. Besides," he added, winking at Alexis, "someone needs to keep you out of trouble." Tears welled in Alexis's eyes, a mixture of gratitude, relief, and a burgeoning sense of hope. She had lost so much, but she had also gained something invaluable, the unwavering support of a true friend. This was going to bring something about after all. "Welcome to the neighborhood, Michael," Alexis said, her voice thick with emotion. He beamed. "It's good to be here." The sunlight streamed down on them, bathing their faces in a warm golden glow. The past was behind them. The future stretched before them, filled with promise and possibility. They had faced the darkness, and they had emerged stronger, more resilient, and more deeply connected than ever before. As they continued down the path, hand in hand, Alexis knew that they were not just starting over. They were starting anew, with love, laughter, and the unwavering support of a true family. She had finally reached her journey of discovery, and all that was on her mind was the best. The end. From Alexis's journey, several life lessons emerge. Firstly, trust your intuition, especially when it comes to those closest to you. T's early unease proved vital. Listen to that inner voice. Practically, this means taking time for self-reflection and not dismissing gut feelings, even if they contradict external appearances. Secondly, be wary of outward charm. It can mask ulterior motives. Critically assess those who seem too good to be true. Investigate before diving in. Do your due diligence and dig beyond the surface before committing your time to someone. Thirdly, betrayal can be a catalyst for growth. Alexis lost everything, but rebuilt a stronger, more authentic life. This speaks to resilience, acknowledging pain, but choosing to move forward. Remember, losing something doesn't make your life any less valuable than you are now. Finally, the importance of family and true friends. They are your anchors in the storm. Cultivate those relationships. Michael's unwavering support allowed Alexis to navigate the darkness. This might be the most important part of the entire endeavor. Applying these lessons requires honesty with yourself, a willingness to question assumptions, and the courage to make difficult choices. Embrace them, and you'll build a more resilient and meaningful life.